to another edition of Prep Picks. Heather Williams alongside Steve Wilman of ESPN Tri-Cities, TriCitiesSports.com. We picked the same games last week, so no change in the standings.
Can't catch up that.
No, definitely not. But I have a feeling at some point we will divert a little bit. Let's start this week with a fascinating matchup. I don't think that this next sentence has ever come out of my mouth, which would be undefeated Volunteer hosting 2-1 Elizabethton.
Certainly never 3-0
Right.
Volunteer. First time in school history. Congratulations to the Falcons. But those opponents that you've outscored 122-7, none of them are of the caliber of Elizabethton. Okay. Give credit to Volunteer for the great start, but the opposition hasn't been what the Cyclones will bring. Volunteers did a great job with their new transfers coming in, getting to the 3-0 for the first time in school history. But this is an Elizabethton team that's outscored Volunteer 196-18, I believe it is, in the 4 years that they've been matched together in Region 1 4A. I think Volunteer is closer. The gap is narrower. That's an average of about 6 touchdowns per game those first 4 years. It's hard to erase 6 touchdowns in 1 year. Maybe half of that. Certainly, I think it's going to be a better football game for sure than what we've seen between the Cyclones and the Falcons for 4 years. But I don't think that Volunteer is quite up to snuff with Elizabethton quite yet. But the 3-0 start, certainly a fabulous start for the Falcons.
So for a long time, that region was basically two teams, and then everybody else was pretty far back and battling for third and fourth. What I love is now Cherokee's picked up their game. Volunteers picked up their game. Even Sullivan East has picked up their game back too, because Sullivan East used to be the pretty standard third in that division. But I love the fact that we actually have competition now. Like, it's going to be fun to see what happens. I still think that Greenville and Elizabethton are 1-2, but as you mentioned, the gap is definitely shrinking. I'm going to take Elizabethton in this, but congratulations to Volunteer. It has been an unbelievable start to the season. Our second game this week, two teams that we talk about what goes on in the region. They're two of the three teams that are usually up there battling for it. Unicoi County and Chuckey-Doak. Chuckey-Doak had a miserable season last year, but looking like they're back to their old selves this year.
Yeah, for Unicoi County, you feel for them after last week. I mean, such a heartbreaking way. When you're on the short end of a long losing streak to a team, just stupid things happen. Okay, that's the reason those streaks get to that. I'm a longtime Tennessee fan. I've seen streaks like that. I've suffered through streaks like that. But now if you're Unicoi County, what do you do to bounce back? Because your next 3 games are on the road, for the next 5 away from Gentry Stadium. You kind of need to keep pace in this district or region race now to get that home playoff game at the end of the year. You're facing a Chuckey-Doak team that's already tripled its win total from a year ago. Now, Chuckey-Doak didn't have a great offensive game last week, only scored 14 points against Westering, a team that had allowed 34 points to 2 Region 1A foes. So I'm not sure what happened to the offense there, but the defense certainly showed up, only allowing 105 total yards. This is a Unicoi County offense that scored 27 against David Crockett, a 5A foe that beat a 6A foe last week, 29 to Class 4A Northview Academy, and then scored 20 on the Highlanders, which are ranked second this week in Class 3A. So I don't know that the Chuckey-Doak defense will be able to slow Unicoi enough to pull off the win. I'll take the Blue Devils on the road.
I think this is a really interesting match because I think we're going to find out how far back Chuckey-Doak is. You mentioned triple their win total from a year ago, and it's outstanding. I know there was no fun had in Lower Afton last year, but are they all the way back? Are they a real player? This is their measuring stick, because right now, you know, GP and Unicoi County are kind of the standard bearers in that region. So we'll find out. I agree with you. I don't think that they have the defense to slow down the firepower of Unicoi County, but I do think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be a really good game. All right, two teams that share the same home field for the home being. So I'm not sure. I guess Happy Valley is technically the home team in this game, but Hampton at Happy Valley, two teams that are undefeated.
Undefeated 3-0. Now, again, you look at the strength of schedule. Happy Valley's opponents are 0-8. Okay, Hampton's opponents 1-2 each, but that is 3 wins. I think somebody's going to be running the football in this game. I mean, these two teams live with running the football. I think,
do they even have a pass play in their offense?
Well, Hampton scored on one last week. That's kind of my point. A little bit of diversity there in the offensive side of the football, I think, will help Hampton. You know, if you're Hampton, Happy Valley is nice enough to you to share its home field during this tough time. Are you really going to go in there and beat the Warriors? on your pseudo home field and their home field, I think it's going to happen. I think Hampton wins the football game.
Uh, Again, I kind of brought this up in the last one, but I think this is a good measuring stick for Happy Valley. Are they for real? They at one point they were the standard bearers in their region. They have had some number issues and kind of fallen on hard times, but you can see Jason Jerry is building that program back up to what the standard is at Happy Valley. I actually think that they are there. And I know that they have not played anyone yet, but I think that they're a little bit stronger. This hurts my heart because you know how much I love you, Hampton. But I think I'm gonna go with Happy Valley in this game. They're the bigger school slightly, and so I just think on their home floor or on their home court, we're not playing basketball on their home court, they will get it done. This next game fascinates me because when I lived in Chattanooga, we had all sorts of Division II schools that I covered. We really haven't had that here until the last couple of years with Providence Academy. So to watch their kind of development and what they are becoming in Division II, which is very, very difficult division to play in, it's fascinating to me. And this is going to be a good measuring stick for them as far as where they fit with the schools around here, the local schools. When I went to, well, I'll let you pick and then I'll get into this. But they are playing at West Greene this week.
Yeah. Thank you for putting this game on the schedule. A fascinating game. Kudos to Providence Academy. I think they're third year playing football. Obviously, Daniel Kilgore, the coach there for the Knights, they got 34 players on their roster. There's a lot of schools around here that would like to have 34 players on its roster. The Knights have that. Not a lot of experience, though. Even though they have 8 seniors, you wonder how many of those 8 seniors actually played a lot of football. Some multi-sport athletes on the football team. Nash Martinez, outstanding baseball player, for one. But you're right. I think this is the first year for TSSAA competition as a whole.
Yes, for
Providence
football.
Academy
Yeah.
in what is Division II Single A, if my divisions are right.
You are
Because-
correct.
There you go. And they played Eagleton Academy last week, which is another Class 2A school, lost 39-14. They do have a win on the year to open the season against an Asheville private school. Big wins, like 64-0. But and in West Greene, struggling offensively, only scored 14 points in 2 games. How does that measure up? I got no idea on this. Okay, to be honest with you, West Greene has really struggled, as I said, scoring the ball. Providence has put some points on the board. I'm going to take Providence on the road. I don't know why. I'm just going to take Providence on the road.
So when I went to practice and talked to Coach Kilgore, he said, they're excited about this game because of the way the divisions are, and they are the only private school around here, they do not get to play very many teams around here. And he said he would love to play more local teams, but there's a little bit of misconception because of Division II that people think that they're recruiting and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure they have probably some, but they're not Baylor, Macaulay, what people think of traditionally. But it's made it difficult for him to score. So kudos to West Greene for scheduling this game, first of all, because I think it's great to give them a little bit of time in the spotlight and a chance for people locally to see what they're doing. I just think I think that for a Division II school, I think Providence, especially in Class 1A, which is the smallest schools, I think they're going to be fairly competitive. But I don't think they have the numbers and the experience to run with West Greene yet. I think they will get there. I think it'll be a very close game, but I'm actually going to pick West Greene in this game. All right, my phone went to sleep, so I got to look and see what the next game is on the schedule. What order I put this in?
Yeah.
All right, great matchup in Southwest Virginia.
Yes.
Shout out to Gate City. I don't think any of us saw that coming. When I saw the score last week, I was like, what? What? Like Gate City gave Dobbins Bennett all that they wanted. So that makes this game even more intriguing against an Abingdon team that I have picked to win the Mountain 7. So Gate City hosting Abingdon. What do you think about this one, Steve?
Well, a week ago, I would not have given Gate City a chance in this football game, but I can't not see what I saw live last week. And that's Gate City that pushed around Big Bad Dobbins Bennett from start to finish. If Gate City's watched their film this week, they're still trying to figure out how they actually lost that football game. I've watched the film this week. I'm trying to figure out how Gate City lost the football game. When you outrush an opponent, by my count, 284-55, you win those games. but somehow Gate City did not. But shout out to the Blue Devils. You keep playing like that. Let's give some more offensive line love. Why
All
don't we?
right.
How about
I
that?
love with the Hogs. Let's go.
Nick Yeomans, the big center. How about the Nathaniel Sloan and Nathan Gillum at guard and Connor McDavid and Eli Miner at tackle? Those guys dominated Dobbins Bennett from start to finish last week. And again, I can't not see what I saw. And I
Right.
know Abingdon is your pick to win the Mountain Seven. But what I saw last week, if Gate City can do that against Dobbins Bennett, they can do that against anybody. And I got to take the Blue Devils based on what I saw last week.
What we saw last week is kind of what I think of when I think of Gate City. You mentioned the offensive line, but big, bruising country boys just taking people out to the woodshed. That I mean, I know that Gate City traditionally had some good passing teams as well, but I just think of those that offensive line controlling the game, which clearly they have the talent on the offensive line. I think that where Abingdon may get them this week, and why I mean I'm going to be consistent, right? I picked them to win. I'm going to pick Abingdon, which by the way, this will be our third different one,
I
so
know, I like
we'll
it.
have some shakeouts. Is I don't think that Gate City has the skill players to compete with Abingdon. I think the offensive line, now, if the offensive line goes out there and dominates and they just shove the ball down their throat and control the clock, it may look a lot like it did last week at Dobbins Bennett. But I think player wise, Abingdon has the better players, and I'm gonna go with the Falcons, but I would not at all be surprised if Gate City wins this game. They have opened my eyes, and I think this is going to be fun now in the Mountain Seven when you look at how deep it is and how many teams have a chance to maybe take down Abingdon. So, and speaking of one of those teams, gosh, I usually don't do games of
Yeah.
teams that are not in our area, and Graham is in Bluefield, but when Union and Graham play, it seems like it's always an instant classic. And we haven't really got to talk that much about your boys from up at Big Stone. We did pick them last week when they played Boone because it was our rivals game. But I just felt like this was a big enough game that I would break a little bit of my rules and pick it, even though Graham's not in our area. So Union Graham, who do you like?
Well, the Bears fans have loved me for 10 years. We all know that. So here we go. We're going against Graham, right? Defending state champion, two times in the last 3 years, undefeated. The senior class, 41-2 coming in. Now, they did lose that first game to Bluefield Beaver. And this game is actually at Tazewell High School, correctly?
Yes.
That's the home field this year for Graham. So Graham last year defensively was just so good. Only allowed 14 or more points one time all year. They did return 7 starters from that defense. Their senior quarterback is back. So they believe they've got another run in them to the state title. One of those 2 losses in those last 3 years did come against Union. Now, Graham got them back in the 2023 playoffs. I still think Graham they're just above Union still. I just think, especially at home, even though it's at Tazewell, the first game of the year kind of gave me cause for concern. Of course, Graham didn't even have to play last week. Alex said, okay, we give. Okay, you got this one. So they did have a week off to recover from that first week. We know the playmakers that Union has. I think they can score some points. I just, until you show it to me consistently, that's your word, consistent,
Yes.
right? I got to go with Graham.
So when you look at Union, I'm so impressed with the evolution of Cam Bostic from a receiver to really good quarterback and a leader. The first time I saw him and I was talking to a coach and they were like, oh, well, he's going to move to quarterback. And you look at him and you're like, that kid? Like he's just so unassuming, right? But he is an absolute beast in crunch time. And I think, I was at that playoff game that they lost to Graham a couple years ago after beating them in the regular season. And it's really as that offense goes, so they go in that game. They cannot allow Graham to force them into mistakes. They had a bunch of turnovers in that game. And I just feel like if Union can minimize the mistakes and control the ball, talked about controlling the ball in the Gate City game, they can win this game. There's no reason why they can't, unfortunately. And I'm sorry, Bears fans. Until you prove to me that you can do it, as you said, you stole my word, on a consistent basis, I'm gonna have to pick Graham, but I will not be surprised if you win. And I actually hope that I'm wrong on this pick. But I just think Graham, you mentioned, just has a few more playmakers, and I think that there's a little bit in their head. You mentioned you talked about Unicoi County and their losing streak. I think cram's a little in their head because I think they can stand toe to toe, but something always happens. A turnover, a bad play, a fumble, whatever. And until they can kind of clean that up, I think, sorry, gonna have to go with the G-men. It hurts my heart a lot. So, anything about last week that you want to talk about? Anything that
Wow.
we didn't get to?
I
Any
just think it's
surprises?
fascinating that Hawkins County is undefeated right
Yeah.
now. You know, Cherokee and Volunteer are both undefeated. Cherokee's got a chance to stay. Obviously, we talked about Dobbins Bennett, what happened to them. So it's been a fascinating first few weeks for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Hawkins County storyline. I wish that they could stay undefeated until the Hawkins County word that we can't say
Yeah.
bowl.
Yes, exactly. Trademark.
Yes, happens because that place is electric. Even when those two teams are like 0-8 and they meet, that
Yeah.
game is electric. So I love that for them in that community. They love football a lot. We mentioned the Dobbins Bennett Gate City game. That really surprised me. Shout out to Eastside. They are
Yeah.
undefeated and had an amazing, because we haven't really talked about them because of their matchups,
Right.
but
It's coming.
it is definitely coming. They've done some really good things. I'm trying to think about who else we haven't talked about that deserves a shout out. Let me look at my helmets here. Westridge bouncing back from an opening week loss. So they've looked pretty good the last few weeks as well. So that's it, I guess. If you want more high school sports, and who can't get enough high school sports, be sure to check out his website. That is tricitysports.com. And for all your scores and highlights, join a special one night only appearance hosting Casey Getz on Friday Night Rivals this Friday at 11:15.